Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition in the Neuroscience, Consciousness, and the Soul series. How to demonstrate the existence of the soul without using the Bible. First, let us define what is neuroscience, consciousness, and the soul. Neuroscience. What is neuroscience? Neuroscience is the science of the nervous system. Think of it as the wiring system of your body. Neuroscience is mostly known for the study of the brain. Imagine the brain as a wiring switchboard of your body's wiring system, as a massive number of switches that routes action potentials or chemical electrical circuits. Imagine wires connected to every part of your body, and current flows through the wires up to the brain, which is a trillion switches that turn on and off, reroute the current back through your body. For a better, more technical understanding of this, see the video in this channel titled Neuroscience Introduction. Consciousness. What is consciousness? Consciousness is self-awareness. If you are aware of something about yourself, like what you believe, what you are thinking about, what your desires are, etc., then you are conscious. Consciousness is that which you have privileged access to when you're thinking about yourself. To illustrate this, imagine your computer desk. All of a sudden it became conscious and knew what it was like to be a computer desk, and it had a desire to become a kitchen table, because it believed kitchen tables enjoy better sensations. These thoughts, desires, intentions, and beliefs that your computer desk has are states of consciousness. Consciousness is the stuff that goes away at night when you go to sleep, and then returns again in the morning when you awake. The soul. What is the soul? The soul is a non-physical substance that contains consciousness and animates your body. Remember we learned about substances? The soul would be a substance that is non-physical or not made of material, and that this non-physical substance contains consciousness and animates your body. Since the natural sciences are used to study the material universe and the soul is non-material, we will not be able to use the natural sciences to prove the existence of the soul. Likewise, the natural sciences cannot disprove the existence of the soul either. More on this in a moment. We will prove the existence of the soul by utilizing the laws of logic in philosophical argumentation. Now, why are the findings of neuroscience mostly irrelevant to proving or disproving the existence of the soul? Well, first, what are the findings of neuroscience? Well, a neuroscientist can use a machine called an fMRI, which can detect increased blood flow in certain areas of the brain. For example, the neuroscientist can ask you to think about a childhood memory, and as you think about the childhood memory, the scientist can detect an increase in blood flow in certain areas of the brain. Another method is where the neuroscientist can use an EEG machine to detect neurons firing in the brain. For example, they can ask you to think of a childhood memory. As you do this, they can detect where neurons are firing at in your brain. Another experiment that can be done is scientists can shock your brain with a magnetic pulse to temporarily disrupt its function. For example, they can ask you to count from 1 to 20, and as you're counting, they can shock a certain area of your brain, and as they shock the area in your brain, you cannot continue to count. They can shock different parts of your brain, and this will hinder your ability to perform different tasks. In short, these experiments can detect when and where activity is in your brain, and the data gathered from these experiments have helped researchers to map and label different sections of your brain. Now, the point of explaining this data from these experiments is to show you that neuroscientists can show association between certain parts of your brain with certain actions. But this does not prove identity. Association or correlation is not identity. A thought in my mind that is associated with a neuron firing in my brain does not prove that the neuron firing is the thought. To illustrate this, imagine if I were to snap my finger every time I thought about my childhood pet. And then, every time I snapped my finger, it caused me to think of my childhood pet. This does not mean that my finger's snapping is the thought of my childhood pet. So a neuroscientist can identify a certain part of the brain that is associated with a complex thought, but this does not prove that the area is the complex thought. Now, those who believe in the existence of the soul believe that the soul can cause changes in the body, and that the body can cause changes in the soul. A body and soul interactionism. For example, if you have a desire in your soul to raise your hand, this desire may cause neurons to fire in your brain as you raise your hand. Or if your body needs energy, it may cause neurons to fire in your brain, which causes a desire in your soul for food, etc. And as the evidence will show, the existence of the soul is indeed a reality. This is what we will examine in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Neuroscience, Consciousness, and the Soul.